right, hello and welcome everyone to Inside the Publisher Lab. I'm Tyler Bishop. Alongside me, Shelby Kang. This is the show inside the show where we dive deeper into a topic that we talk about on our podcast, the Publisher Lab. And so today, Shelby, what are we talking about?
Well, we're kind of diving into some strategies, content strategies moving into 2019. So it seems like a lot of UK publishers are going to turn to video next year, but you kind of have your own take on, the content strategies that will drive 2019.
Well, so we had our good friend Betsy Fast, who is the director of edit strategy for Hearst UK, and she spoke at our recent Pubtelligence event and talked a lot about kind of their content strategy. And they obviously have a lot of different brands and things along those lines that they work with. And I thought it was really interesting because we're hearing about this quote unquote pivot to video again, and that was all the rage last year. But one of the things that she had mentioned was that with her brand, they were looking at video a little bit differently, moving away from quote unquote social video, right?
Right.
And part of the reason for that was because Facebook has done what to publisher traffic recently?
Burned them and burned them over again. It's just like a faucet. It's whenever Facebook wants to let some traffic in and then they take it away.
That's right. They've throttled the reach, and they've also not been totally honest about the actual views that videos were getting for a long time, and so that was kind of a scandal that took place. And so a lot of publishers sort of pivoted away from video and went in another direction with it. But I think one of the things we keep learning about audiences is that you need to look at your data, right?
Right.
And so one of the things we keep learning is that every audience is different. If you engage with your audience, maybe video is a great format, maybe podcasts are a great format, but the biggest thing that you have to learn is that your audience is going to be different from somebody else's. And so just because everyone else is moving towards video or towards podcasts or voice search or whatever it is, your audience could be different. And what's one of the best ways to kind of start digging into that and figuring out what is it that my audience likes?
Well, I mean, you could ask them for one, but you could also look at the data. You can see, which sites or pages are kind of generating the most traffic, or sites or pages that, your audience stays on the longest. That's a good indication of, oh, they like that content.
So session duration is kind of a classic one, right? Being able to see landing pages by session duration. And why landing pages? Well, that gives you an idea of where they're coming from and what pages they're landing on, because perhaps they go from that page to more and more and more pages. That shows you engagement. But going deeper, looking at things like engagement time, navigation bounces, these are ways to see what pieces of content your audience is truly engaging in and spending the most time with. And this can give you an idea of A, what types of topics you should maybe write more about, but then B, we've seen here recently, Betsy talked about showing Game of Thrones videos to people that are in, what publication was it?
Good Housekeeping.
And so she said, why would we show Game of Thrones videos to people that were reading Good Housekeeping?
Because people who are reading Good Housekeeping like Game of Thrones.
That's right. And so if you're a publisher and you're seeing your engagement time of certain articles is really high, it may be worth exploring what other subjects or topics that maybe seemingly seem unrelated would that audience be interested in, and maybe it's a good time to start looking at publishing or creating content that they may like in completely another vertical. But one of the things I really liked about Betsy was she's not afraid to experiment and not afraid to use data to do things that flew in the face of what maybe doesn't necessarily make sense, common sense, if you will. And that's what I thought was really fascinating, and I think that that's the future of content strategy in 2019, is really leveraging data to understand what it is your audience wants and then how you can give it to them. And the medium doesn't matter. Video, podcast, print, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Give your audience what they want, right, Shelby?
Absolutely.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us on Inside the Publisher Lab. Hopefully you've had a chance to listen to our audio version, the Publisher Lab, but if not, you can check us out on iTunes. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time on Inside the Publisher Lab.